Hi, we're on our range today and we're talking about holsters. A company called Cytac, bear with me if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, sent me a few things and asked me to review them. And what they sent me was this holster that fits a Smith & Wesson M&P, this holster that fits a Beretta 92FS, and this extension that allows me to put that holster a little lower than the belt. Before I review these, I have to take a trip down memory lane and show you a couple of other types of holsters that will help put the Cytac holster in perspective. So bear with me as I go through this. And the first holster I want to talk about are Uncle Mike's holsters. Uncle Mike's makes a lot of different things. For a long time, something that looked more or less like this was a very common holster they made. Most of the time in black. You can also get them in camo. These holsters, I found them to be of good quality. They hold your handgun fairly securely. But there's a couple of features about this holster that I don't like. To start with is the retention strap. Now, it does have good retention, but when you want to get the handgun out of the holster, you want to get a firing grip on it, and then from there, hit some kind of thumb brake, and some Uncle Mike's holsters do have thumb brakes, but this design, you want to be able to reach that with your finger and unsnap it so you can get your handgun out in a firing grip, which I can't do. So what I have to do is do a modified presentation where I'll come up from beneath and unsnap that retention strap as I come up. But as I come up like this, it's difficult to get this piece just right. Let me show you a close-up of what this looks like. You can see that this piece is flared out. Originally that was straight down, and as I'm coming up trying to unsnap the retention strap, it was difficult to hit. So I modified it by heating it up, bending it out here, it cooled, stayed in place, and now that's easier to hit so I can get it unsnapped and get a good grip on my handgun. But I shouldn't have to modify it like that. The way this comes originally is a feature I don't like. Another feature I don't like is how the holster slides onto a belt. This is too narrow to go over this military issue cartridge belt, duty belt, web belt. I've heard it called many names, but whatever you call it, this won't fit over it. Even the version of the Uncle Mike's holster that is wide enough to fit over it requires that I completely disassemble it, take all the hardware off, slide it on there, completely reassemble it. That's a hassle. In fact, this is so narrow, it barely fits on this pants belt. It requires some work to get it through there. Makes me wonder, what type of belt did they envision you were wearing? So although Uncle Mike's does make some pretty good products, those are two reasons why I really don't like their holsters very much. There's another type of holster that I greatly prefer, and that is something called the Hunter holster. Now, decades ago, this is what was probably the most common holster anybody had, and for good reason. You want to be able to get your firing grip on your handgun before you take it out of your holster. The retention strap on this allows me to do that. Now you'll notice that the retention strap goes over the trigger guard. That is just fine for some types of handguns, such as when I'm carrying my Smith & Wesson Model 638 with a shrouded hammer. Very easy to get the grip I want on this handgun. And there's no problem in terms of covering the hammer, because you're not going to catch that on anything. But with the Smith & Wesson Model 29, with nothing over that hammer, as I get out of the car, that might catch on the steering wheel and cock that in my holster. Going through really heavy brush, there's a chance that some kind of limb is going to get caught on that and cock that in my holster, and you don't want to be surprised if you get a little careless with your trigger finger and that goes off before you intend it to. That is a very poor feature on some of these old school holsters. If you have one of these that has the retention strap over the trigger guard, you can take that piece off, and you might have to add a little bit of leather to it and then rivet it or sew it up here so it will go over the hammer. If you have one like this, modify it. If you can't modify it, retire it. There can be some real downsides to something like this with the retention strap over the trigger guard. But another feature that this holster has that I really like is how it goes on a belt. You can just put it over the belt. You don't have to take a bunch of stuff off the belt. You don't have to disassemble the belt. It's really handy. So if I'm using this belt and I decide that I want to carry my Smith & Wesson Model 638, it just goes on there. I'm ready to go. But then if I decide instead of carrying that, I want to carry my Ruger Mark III, okay. And I'm ready to roll. It is that easy. And that is why I really like Hunter holsters. These days, if I see them at gun shows or flea markets or yard sales, often I'll buy the holster if I can get it for a reasonable price, even if I don't have the handgun that it's designed to fit, just because I might get that handgun someday. Now, all of that leads me to this holster right here. It's mediocre quality. It's floppy. It's something that a lot of people have encouraged me to get rid of. So why have I used this holster for so long? There's a few reasons. One, it has this Velcro attachment. So it just goes over the belt and I'm ready to go. And that's very easy to do. And it is for me a necessity when I carry different types of handguns. And speaking of different types of handguns, because this thumb brake retention system is also Velcroed and it's adjustable, it makes this holster versatile. I can use it to carry my Colt government model. I can use it to carry my Ruger Security 6. I can use it to carry my Steyr GB. I can use it to carry my Beretta 92FS. It's very versatile. And that's why I've used this mediocre quality thing for a long time. Now, all of that having been said, it brings me to the topic of the Cytac holster and some of the pluses and minuses of it. Now, if you take the Cytac holster, it has a few pluses, and let me show you a close-up of this. The Cytac holster is rigid polymer and is designed to fit just one specific handgun, in this case a Smith & Wesson M&P. You can get the firing grip on your pistol, release the pistol by pressing the button, and it comes out exactly where I want it to be. When I put it back into the holster, it locks in place, and there's nothing to reattach, no thumb brake, no retention strap. Very easy to get out, very easy to get back in, very secure. It goes over your belt by slipping it over with this paddle type thing here. So if on my belt I have my Ruger Mark III 22 and I decide that today I want to shoot my Smith & Wesson M&P 22, then all I need to do is this. And it's that easy. Now this will slide back and forth a little bit on the belt, but it will not fall off the belt. And when I want to take it off, again, it's that easy. And that is a big plus of this design. But what about this extension I have on this belt? Let me show you a close-up look at it. The 92FS holster works just like the M&P holster, but in this case, the paddle that goes over the belt has been removed and it's been attached to this extension, which slides onto the belt like the Uncle Mike's holster does. So because this extension slides on the belt like the Uncle Mike's holster, it has the same problems as the Uncle Mike's holster. To get this extension on here, I had to completely disassemble the belt, take all of the hardware off, slide the holster on, and then reassemble the belt. And that is a hassle, and it is prohibitively time-consuming. However, What secures this holster to this paddle that goes over the belt is one Allen screw, and it's inside the holster. And no, it won't scratch your gun. And so what you do is you take your L-shaped Allen wrench, you get in there, and you can take that paddle off. Then I can unscrew this holster from the extension, screw this holster onto the extension, and then holster my M&P, and off I go. And yes, that is a hassle, but it's not prohibitively time consuming. However, with that being my option, it tells me that I have a few options. Such as, one, I can now only use handguns for which Cytac makes holsters. Okay, well, I don't know that they make a holster for my Model 29, and I can say with great confidence that they don't make a holster for my Steyr GB, and so going only with Cytac holsters is going to mean that I'm not going to be able to use a lot of the handguns that I own. Okay, I'm not going to do that. Another option is to just put up with the hassle of every time I want to switch to a different gun, having to disassemble my belt completely, slide this extension off. I'm not going to do that either. That is prohibitively time consuming. So another option is that I go down to the surplus store and I buy a complete new belt and suspender set and use that to put on hunter holsters and whatever else, and keep this solely for handguns for which Cytac makes holsters. Okay, that might seem like a bit much, but that's the option that I'm going with because I like the Cytac system that much. Now that I've had a chance to work with it, I find it very easy to get my 92FS in and out of the holster. My trigger finger finds that release button and it's very easy to press. However, nothing else has hit the release button. I found that my pistol has not fallen out of my holster. Not only does it hold the pistol really securely, but the entire holster is really secure to my body, greatly helped by this strap that goes around my leg. Now let me show you a close-up of that. This strap around my leg has some stretchiness to it, has this seatbelt type of attachment, which is very easy to attach, very easy to detach, but not so likely to become detached when you don't want it to. But even if you are concerned about that, it has a lock. So for me, when I'm in the field with the belt and suspender setup that I typically use, it looks like the Cytac holster is going to work out pretty well. Also for concealed carry, because this type of holster keeps the pistol farther off my body than a lot of concealed carry holsters do, it makes the pistol very easy to reach and very easy to get into action. Also with the design of the Cytac holster, it really lends itself well to speed holstering, which is a real thing. The downside, though, is, wow, that really prints. So depending on how you're built and what kind of gun you want to carry and what kind of clothing you want to wear, the Cytac holster might not be the best concealed carry holster. The proof of the pudding is in the eating. The proof of the holster is in the wearing. The proof of the gun is in the shooting. However, sometimes the proof of the holster can be in the shooting as well. Now on this particular holster, something I have to remember is that as I reach down and get my firing grip, I have to press the release button before I try to pull the pistol out of the holster. If I start pulling first, it jams that and I can't really press the button. Sometimes when shooting a shotgun, you hear me say pull rack like it's all one word. In this case, we have to add the letter N. It's press and pull. You can't do them absolutely simultaneously. It's press and pull. So let's see if I can do that while concentrating on sight alignment, sight picture, and trigger control, shooting this target at 10 yards. Let's take a look at the target. And so, not bad. This is just a flyer, that's just me, and yes, that is very annoying. Now there's one more thing to add, and that is that I cannot attest to the long-term quality of the polymers used in this holster. Is it going to disintegrate after years of exposure to the sun? I don't know. I guess we'll have to check back in a few years. But until then, I have been very happy with the performance of this holster. So as always, don't try this at home on what you call a professional, and thanks for watching the Cytac holster review video.